Grimethorpe? You don't know about Grimethorpe Colliery Band? You don't even know where Grimethorpe is? All right, let's begin at the beginning.
And for that beginning, you have to come here to the heart of Grimethorpe, to this now derelict site of the former Miners' Welfare and Institute. It was from this base that Grimethorpe Colliery Band established a worldwide reputation, although the story really started 3 miles down the road in neighbouring Cudworth during the First World War. And it's where the earliest known photograph of Grimethorpe Colliery Band was taken.
We don't have any industry in Cudworth down the road, but the mines all around us, that's where they employ the people. So they came to Grimethorpe. So that's when the band really started, from coming to Grimethorpe, and then, well, the rest is history, say, to where we are today.
Yet it took almost half a century after it was founded for the band to rise from being also-rans to the best of British brass.
The band room would have been over here.
Band room were over there on that final square.
Stute were here, weren't it?
Yeah.
Former players Peter Roberts, Stan Lippeat and Mark Walters were among the key figures in Grimethorpe Band's history.
I went into the band back in 1965 as a 15-year-old. We won the Open in 67, you know, which is actually 50 years ago this year. And then again in 69, and I was only 17, as Stan was only 17.
My dad liked motorbikes and he used to be a marshal at Cadwell Park, and my mum hated me having a motorbike. We went to watch Grimethorpe at Barnsley Civic, and it totally changed my view on music and life, really. They said, right, if you sell your bike, you can have a cornet.
George Thompson, the conductor at the time, he had a vision that he needed to have some young people in his band. And he took in, the year after Peter went, there was 6 of us went from the junior band in 1966. And then Grimethorpe Colliery Band won their first ever British Open a year later.
And George Thompson's vision continued to pay dividends as Grimethorpe's unique sound began to challenge elite brass bands like Black Dyke and Brighouse and Rastrick. To the left of George in this photograph is Ken Hirst, my late dad, the band's secretary for more than 40 years, and later believed to be the model for Danny, the character in the film Brassed Off, who fights to keep his band together.
He was a great organiser, and he was I know you're here, but he was a great fella as well.
He was, yeah.
He was.
You know, you could sit down, you could talk to him, and you could tell him your problems, and he would sort them problems.
One of those problems was finding a replacement conductor for George Thompson in 1972. Enter the charismatic Elgar Howarth.
I had a telephone call from your father. The thing is, could you give me a reference? You know, the week before I probably conducted the BBC Symphony, and a couple of weeks before that, in those days, it's more likely I'd perhaps conducted the LSO or something.
Yet Howarth was smitten with Grimethorpe. He also liked brass band music. He wasn't a fan of traditional contests, but what he did was introduce the band to a whole new repertoire, persuading his friends in the avant-garde world of classical music to compose specially for the band.
I think they set a benchmark that they dared to do something really different. Because an awful lot of people, of course, were saying this is all a lot of nonsense, nothing to do with brass bands. The music is terrible, it's very dissonant, we don't understand it and we don't like it.
Like it or not, brass band history was being made. Grimethorpe the first to be invited to play at the Proms. Invites poured in from around the world, including a trip to the Montepulciano Festival in Tuscany, featured in this Granada documentary. But there was trouble ahead, starting with a year-long pit strike in the 1980s. The band was financed by the coal industry, most of its players employed at Grimethorpe Colliery. So the closure of the pit in the early 1990s posed a grave threat to the band's future. But there were those who simply weren't prepared to let that happen.